I'm Jack from Quilting Dreams, and today I have received my sew sampler box for August. What we're going to do today is we're going to have a little sneaky peek at what's in the August box, and then we are going to create the Pieceful Baskets block for August. So let's get started. Okay, so this is our August sew sampler box. This is the monthly subscription quilting box from the Fat Quarter shop. If you go to their website, you can have a look at these. I get this one every month. I've been getting it for about 2 years, and I find that it's really, it's great. I love every month. We do get it a little bit later here in Australia, but it's still very exciting. So we've got the Fables of Fall, August 2024. And I'll just pop this aside, and on the back of this here there is generally a coupon. So the coupon, if you are a subscriber, is 20% off layer cakes. So if you do get the sew sampler box, then there's a coupon on the back, and there's generally a coupon every month, which is really good. They also have layer cake lolly shortcut quilt pattern, which is a great alternative to I'm guessing the quilt pattern that we're going to see in this box. So let's get started. You also get this little booklet each month that gives you more information about what's in the sew sampler box. Now this month we are getting the OFA cutting tool. This is a 28mm tool. This is really great for some smaller projects, for trying to get into the smaller corners. I generally always use this one here. This is a 45mm one. It has the retractable rotary blade, and I find that that's really good. That way it is just a little bit safer for me. This one here, you'd need to pull the cover back and forward, which is super fine. I just prefer this particular style, but for the smaller pieces of work, I think this would work just brilliantly. Then we have it looks like a pen. Let's have a look. It's got white lead in it, and it's from the Shoreline, and it looks like there's also an eraser at the top end there. I think this would definitely come in handy when you're working with darker fabric. I'll just pop that up there so it make it a bit easier to see. So I think that's definitely something I would use as a go-to. We then also have this ruler, the Clammy 6-inch ruler. So I'm guessing that in a pattern this time we're going to have a look at this. It's always really good to give these things a go. It's sometimes people find working on the curve angle a little bit tricky, but I think if you can follow the step-by-step instructions from from a YouTube tutorial, I think that will definitely help with that. So we'll definitely give that a go at some stage. Then we have the fabric for this month, which is Folks and Law. This is a Moda fabric. It looks like it's very, definitely your traditional sort of autumny type colours. They've definitely got a lot darker tone in them, so that'll be something different for me to work with. That's not a colour palette that I would normally work with, so I look forward to giving that a go. This month we've got Verbena quilt pattern. So that's 78.5 by 78.5. It actually looks kind of cute. I definitely will give these a go. It's not something I've done a lot of work with the circles or ovals, so I'll definitely give something like this a go, and I look forward to having a bit of a go at that. So I'll just pop that one under there. And for our Pieceful Baskets for the month, we have Cat's Cradle Basket Block, block number 5. So we're going to go ahead now. I'm going to cut the fabric out that we need for this block, and then I'll come back and we'll start assembling this block together. Okay, so I have cut out all the fabric for our block that we're going to do, which is the August block number 5, Cat's Cradle Basket Block. Now with this one here, you'll just need to note that when you're cutting your, I guess, the green fabric, and it's green on oh, let me just pop this one over the top here. So when we're cutting this green fabric here, it's a bit hard to see, we need to cut one of the pieces from diagonal to diagonal. And also with our grey, that grey back border, back drop type fabric there, one of the squares we need to cut in the diagonal twice. So I've done that already and we're ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to do the first bit, which is half square triangles. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll get that organised. Okay, so firstly, as I mentioned, we're going to create the half square triangles. So what you'll need is a piece for the lower part of the basket and a piece for the cat's cradle. What you need to do is turn your grey fabric or your lighter fabric over and mark from diagonal to diagonal with any type of marker that you like. I use the friction pen for mine, but you can use anything you like. Then putting right sides together, you'll put those right sides together and you're going to stitch either side of this the marked line. Once you've finished your stitching, you'll cut down the marked line and then you'll iron your seams. I'm going to iron to one side, but generally they ask for you to iron those seams open. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so what you'll end up with is 4 half square triangles. I've already trimmed these ones down, but I'm going to walk through with you how we trim this one here down. So I'm just using a 4.5 inch ruler, squared ruler. You'll notice on the ruler there is this line going from corner to corner. So we're going to use that to match it up with our line, our sew line. And we're going to trim using that as our guide. So we're going to place that line on the sew line and then I pop a tiny little bit of pressure there. Using my rotary cutter, I cut 2 sides. Just pop that out the way, turn your piece around, lining that up in alignment with what it says in the sew sampler instructions, and then trimming the last 2 around there. What you'll notice is you get a perfectly squared triangle if you use this method. It's always great to use the lines that you have on your rulers to help guide you when you're trimming down your blocks. So you should now have 4 blocks ready to go. Let's get started on the next step. Okay, so for our next one, we are going to put our half hourglass units together. Now with these ones we cut on the diagonal, and apologies when I showed you at the start I hadn't cut this piece, this fabric here on the diagonal, but you'll definitely need to do that. So what we're going to do, and pay close attention to the fabric placement, you'll see here that I have these in the opposite directions, so opposite sides. So you'll need to do that because if you do them on the same side, when you're piecing that block together, it won't work so well. So the first step we're going to do is sew these 2 together. So we're just going to sew a 1/4 inch back from that seam, from that edge, and we'll do the same on the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and let's see how we go. Okay, so we've now finished this side. So I've ironed those open, and that's aligned to what the instructions say. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to find the halfway point. So I just fold that over, find that halfway point, just finger press that, and I line that up right sides together with the center of our piece, and then I just pop a pin, just grab those pins that are here, just grab a pin and pop it in there so that I know that that's the halfway point. So then when we're trimming down, we know that we've got sort of these nice and equal. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch 1/4 inch back from that edge, and then we're going to iron the seams open. So we're going to do that on both pieces now. All right, so what you're going to have now is you're going to have your hourglass triangle looking like this. I've pressed these seams open. This one here I've already trimmed down, but we're going to go through and trim this one here down. So using again that line on your ruler, we're going to mark that up with a, with a stitch line, and I just bring that as far as I can to the front, applying a little bit of pressure. You certainly don't have to apply much, just enough so that we keep it in the right spot. Turn that one around and pop that on again, lining that up, and then we'll just trim this one down, and you have a perfectly, oopsie daisies, a perfectly trimmed hourglass triangle. And you'll see here that they are both different. So one is at the top and one is on the side, and that's one of the things you'll need to pay close attention to make sure that you have them in this direction, or when you start piecing together, that's going to be a problem. So let's move on to the next. Okay, so we're going to start piecing together our block. So this is the inner part of the basket block. We've got our pieces here, so just pay close attention to where your pieces need to go. But essentially we've finished doing the inner block piecing together, and we're now going to piece this as a block in total. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to piece these rows together first, and then I'll put each of the rows together, and then I'm going to add the bottom on, and then I'm going to add this side on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'm going to come back to you when that's complete. Okay, so you should have a block that looks a little bit like this at this stage. Now what you'll need to do is at this point you'll need to trim it up. I always recommend when the pattern tells you to trim it up, to trim it up. It just helps to keep that block nice and square at the end. So we're going to go ahead now and trim this up. Now again, I use the lines on the ruler to match up with sewing seams. So I'm going to match this one here up perfectly here, and just pop a little bit of pressure on there and trim down that edge there. I should have done the top as well while I was there, so let's just pop this top one through as well, because we know that's nice, and just trim that up there, and then we just turn our block around, and then we're going to trim the other way. So now we know that these two sides are perfect. We can line that up on these edges here in where we need it to be, and popping a little bit of pressure on there, trimming down both sides. And as you can see, there's not a lot that comes off when we're trimming up, but it's enough if we were making multiple blocks that you could have a very skewed quilt, and it would make it a little bit more challenging if you're trying to quilt that at home, or if you're sending that to your quilter. So we're going to get ready for the next step. Okay, so we're going to pull out these next two pieces here, and we're going to create a half square triangles. So make sure if you're using a white fabric that you make sure that you have the right side up, and then when you're turning it over, you're actually going to do your diagonal to diagonal on the wrong side. It's really important to check this, because you could get halfway through sewing, or you could get to piecing all your blocks together and realize that you've actually placed your draw lines on the right side. So I always go right side up, turn over, mark right sides together with my fabric. We're going to stitch 1/4 inch each side of the marked line, trim down that marked line, and then we're going to iron those pieces open. Let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so what we'll end up is 2 half square triangles. I've gone ahead and trimmed that one there, so let's just trim this one here together. So again, we're going to place our ruler on the fabric, and we're going to make sure we have the marked line in the diagonal in line with the sew line, and this is what will give us the most accurate blocks, and it'll make sure that they're nice and square as well. And then we just turn it round, line it up again, and trim off the side and the bottom. And that gives us some really lovely squared pieces. So that's all ready to go. Let's go ahead and get ready for the next step. Okay, so the next next step for us is to start placing on these outer borders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work one border at a time. So we're going to start with this one here, so that does the top. We're going to pop these 3 pieces together and then add it to the top piece here. We'll then do this one here, then we'll go on this one, and then this top one last. So what we'll do is we're going to stitch each one together. We'll press those seams open, or to one side depending on how I've done these ones here, because I tend to like to do nesting, and when I'm nesting I will always do it to one side so that I can nest it in, and I feel like I get a much better point if I do that, so I tend to head in that direction where I possibly can. But we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'll pop back as soon as we've got all of these added on. Okay, so this is what it looks like with all of the borders on. It's looking beautiful. I love the Corey Yoder fabric. I love Peachy Keen. I've enjoyed working with this a lot. So we're just going to go ahead now and we're going to square this one up. Now with this one here, I'm just going to use these lines that I've got, and there's quite a lot of lines on this particular ruler, but I'm going to use them to help me get this one nice and square. So I'm just getting that there. And again, we're going to do the right side and the top. And then we'll just turn that one around, and we can place that into that bottom corner because we know that that is now squared beautifully. Oh, I'm just going to come off that edge. I have a wavy line here, and when you cut on that edge, it struggles to cut a little bit. And just lining that one up again and trimming both sides. So I'm just going to do a double check here that I've got that perfect, because nothing much came off. Yeah, I must have slipped a tiny little bit, and there we go. So we get a little bit, but you won't get too much off, and that's exactly what you want, because you really just want to have this as a nice square block, and you want to be using the lines on here to help you square it up and become nice and square. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get ready for the next step. Okay, so we've got our next pieces here. What we're going to do is on our coloured piece, which is actually the bottom where the basket stands on, we're going to go diagonal to diagonal, and we're just going to draw up that line. Okay, so that's that line on there. Just grabbing that white square that we've got, and we're going to place that across here. So we're going to go from the diagonal to diagonal, we'll go on to both sides. So it's not going to go the full way. And then what we're going to do is we are going to sew on our marked line on this one. So you could put some pins in, because the thing with this is you want to make sure you've got your fabric at a right angle. And that will give you the best results. So if you want to, you can go ahead and pop some pins in to help stabilize that. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew on this marked line. I'm then going to trim 1/4 inch to the waist side. Then I'm going to iron this one open. So I'll come back as soon as we've done that. All right, so your block should look something like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our ruler, and I need a longer one for this. I'm going to put the fabric just on this diagonal so it's just easier for me. I'm going to place the ruler from one corner to the other, making sure we've got half of our coloured fabric either side. And I use this line here and put that on our sew line, so that just makes sure that we've got it all nice and straight. And then there's our 2 pieces. Now we're just going to pop those aside for a second, and we're going to grab this other white square that you will have had cut out, and we're going to do the same on this one. Just popping that from diagonal to diagonal, trimming that one across. Now what we want to do, we're on the home stretch, and this is just looking stunning. So there's our block. That's what we've done to date. Now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to place these pieces in the correct spots, And you can see how that forms that, I guess, the little bench that it sits on. And then we're just going to pop these ones on as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew these 4 pieces on. The way I'll do that is I'll do one on this side and one on this side. I'll pop those on, then iron them, and then I'll put the last 2 on. Now, when we're putting these on, just one little tip. I just tend to still do this. I have started doing this. I wasn't doing this on earlier tutorials. Just finding that middle point, right sides together, and then just lining that up. So you still want to have at least 1/4 inch off each side. If you have it all to one side or all to the other, you'll find that when you start putting the other pieces on, it's going to be a bit of a mismatch. So just popping that on there. You'll need to pop a few pins in just to keep it nice and stable, because it's really important at this point that we do, and that just helps us to have a nice square block at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and add these 4 sides, and we'll come back and have a look at what our finished block looks like. Okay, and just like that, we have finished block number 5, the Cat's Cradle Basket Block. And doesn't that look beautiful? I absolutely love using this Peachy Keen fabric by Corey Yoder, and I really do think that the blocks are turning out just beautifully. I have created block number 1 through to 4 if you want to go and have a look at those ones. And I will be back next month and we'll be doing block number 6, and I can't wait to get my Sew Sampler box. I think I've shared with you before, it is my happy mail. I love getting the Sew Sampler box. It just makes my day, it makes my week, it makes my month. I love getting the different fabrics and working with those different fabrics. So until next month, have a wonderful month, keep crafting, and bye for now.